Hello, I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director and Founder of ESS BIZTOOLS. Welcome to the Accountant's Minute podcast, which we're based on Accountant's Minute edition number 402, which was titled Business Plus in Action, from Insight to Implementation. We featured Business Plus in our most recent commentary on Accountant's Minute also, because it's a very important aspect of the product packages that have been developed by ESS BIZTOOLS, because accountants and bookkeepers need to be able to communicate to your SME clients that you have this range of financial, commercial, management accounting, advisory services at your fingertips that you can utilize to assist your clients to improve their overall businesses. I envisage that you're going to be performing the role of the Chief Financial Officer on a virtual basis and most definitely on a part-time basis. But you will be helping your SME clients to meet some of the significant challenges that they've got at present. So how does it work? We try to pick a variety of articles, and I'll refer to that a little bit later, but we select articles that comply with inquiries or thoughts that SMEs may have on various aspects of their business, from those contemplating starting a business, buying a business, selling a business, wanting to expand, wanting to scale up into a much larger business. There's a whole range of issues that in each month we comment on 4 to 6 of those items. And over a year, we produce commentary on 50 to 70 of various aspects confronting business operators. So select the article that you think you should talk to the client about. Your client, you know what they're interested in. If someone's been talking about, perhaps I should do some research and development, and are there any taxation advantages from that? You could contact them when we've written an article on research and development, and that happens once or twice a year because it's a very important area for SMEs. You distribute the Business Plus email under your brand. They don't see ESS BIZTOOLS. They don't know that we exist, your SME clients. And that's deliberate by our team to ensure that you're communicating with your clients. And you can edit the material if you like, where we have call to actions, and we normally say, contact the accountant in our organisation that you normally deal with. If you want to edit that to say, contact Mary Brown, our expert in, or our champion in research and development matters, that's fantastic, I think. It's important that you follow up with a conversation with the client. You ring them. Did you read that article? Would you like us to come and have a discussion with you? Because I really find this is one of the best ways of finding out what clients really want. I've been doing this all my career. Sit down and talk to your clients over a cup of tea or coffee, or maybe if it's a bit later in the day, something a wee bit stronger. Get the client to relax. I adopted an attitude many years ago of never charging for those interviews, because I generated a lot of work by sitting there talking to the client. In fact, my team manager used to get rather upset when he said, "Oh, you're not going out to see so-and-so again, are you?" Because he knew I would be coming back with extra work that I wanted them to give priority to. It's a bridge to a service offering that you can supply to your clients. And you need to then be able to implement, utilizing the tools within ESS BIZTOOLS to achieve some real outcomes. So you could use Business Plus to give more leads on various aspects. So what I thought I would do is just quickly go through some of the comments made in this edition of Accountants Minutes, which referring to Business Plus. One firm has shared, before Business Plus, we struggled to start advisory conversations. Now we've built a steady stream of engagements using articles as a natural sequence into our services. We need to be very mindful when we're looking at the services that accountants are providing on the comments being made by leading accountants as observers of what's happening in the profession. Those people include the former tax commissioner, Chris Jordan, who besides being the former tax commissioner, was also a former partner at KPMG. And he made some very interesting comments 2.5 to 3 years ago at a major conference in Sydney. If your business model is high volume, low margin, focused on simple tax returns, it will not be viable in 3 to 5 years' time. Now, he made those comments 2.5 years ago. So I think we've got 6 months to perhaps 30 months maximum when you look at what Chris Jordan had to say. And at a series of webinars presented on AI matters about 3.5 weeks ago, Mark Wickersham, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, who at one stage was a Sydney accounting practitioner and who's now the principal of Value Pricing Academy based in London, and is also a senior consultant to ChatGPT. He doubled down on what Chris Jordan had to say because he said compliance work as we know it today will disappear before the end of this decade. I will repeat that, will disappear before the end of this decade, or perhaps even earlier. I think now is the time to really be implementing the services that you are going to be wanting to offer your clients that comprise some taxation services. Of course, you'll still need to do them. But what Chris Jordan was saying is the volume of taxation work is going to decrease because of improved technology and processes within the tax office. And as we're featuring how you're going to communicate all this to your clients, I now want to just refer a bit more to the most recent Business Plus, which is the concept we're highlighting in this particular conversation. In the April edition of Business Plus, we talked about a number of different issues. Thinking about purchasing a business. So this is the segment that's targeted at someone that's come to talk to you and say, I'm thinking about buying a business. It's always very interesting to ask them what they know about the business. And I found some people are serious about buying a business, but have done no research on the industry whatsoever. They don't know who the competitors are. They haven't developed a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis on the competitors so that they know what they're in for. So I think you should be saying to your clients, well, you need to research the business and in particular the market. What's this business cater for? Who are the competitors? Have you compared a strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities threat analysis? So where are you going to be weak as compared to these major competitors? Because the next question then is, what are you going to do about it to ensure that you can effectively compete with these people? Have you looked at the recent history of new businesses opening up against the major competitors you have identified? How did they go? Did they come and go very quickly? Or did they survive? If so, what strategies did they adopt? Stress to your client that there's nothing wrong with copying marketing ideas or promotional ideas that other businesses have already implemented. just that you can't copy it if it's subject to a patent or some other type of protection. Have you had discussions with suppliers to this business is an important question that you should be asking, especially when you read the article written by the CEO of MYOB that appeared in the Financial Review in February 2024. In that, he indicated that their survey of 1,000 of their clients had indicated that a lot of people had done no preparation at all. They had assumed that their suppliers would give them 30 days to pay. And some of them got a very rude shock when they placed an order and immediately were asked to place a sum of money, which was the value of that order, into the supplier's bank account. And the supplier would not supply it until they'd received that money. Now, I don't know whether those people that MYOB reviewed had talked to an accountant or a bookkeeper as part of their preparation for going into business. I probably hope they hadn't, although I do stress to all people proposing to go into business, they should have an in-depth discussion with an accountant or a bookkeeper. And in those discussions, I don't think you should be playing the nice guy. I think you need to be fairly brutal in your assessment of their likely success, because there's too many failures. There's too many people starting businesses unprepared, as some of these people that MYOB identified obviously were. Because they just assumed that everyone gave 30 days credit. Well, that is not true, as they found out. The next problem they had was that apparently some of them assumed that they had to offer credit to anyone who asked for it. That's not right. That's a great way to get everyone else's problems, I suppose. But they didn't have to offer credit, as you know. So I don't know where they got that idea from. And then there were follow-on problems because apparently many of them had assumed that they would be paid in 30 days. Unfortunately, there's not many SMEs in Australia who can say that month in, month out, that their debtors' days outstanding are on 30 days if they're trading on a monthly basis. Because the history of Australia is debtors' days outstanding are very high. About 4 years ago, an international survey out of London gave Australia a very dubious international award. Australia had the longest debtors' days outstanding in the world. The longest debtors' days outstanding in the world. It was over 58 days. And we won an international award. Quite frankly, I don't believe it's reduced much since then, if it's reduced at all. In fact, it may have even blown out a bit. And I know the federal government introduced some legislation and apparently set up a team. It's probably where some of the additional bureaucrats that the government's employed are involved in, and they're monitoring what the big end of town are doing in payments to small business. But all they're going to do is write a report and publicise it, that certain businesses didn't pay within 30 days. I don't know whether that's going to be a real deterrent to companies that may be having cash flow problems of their own. But the big thing is, coming back to our SME clients, is that they shouldn't be assuming that they're going to get paid in 30 days. Sure, if they're going to offer credit, they need to have some period, but I would have thought it was more likely to be 40 to 50 days that they would at least do their budgets on. Then if they can get them to pay closer to 30 days, that's fantastic. They're going to have some spare cash in their cash flow. And they also need to get your input on the taxation obligations they're going to have to pay. The tax net result on GST, for argument's sake, has to be paid every quarter. The tax deducted from their employees' wages has to get paid. The superannuation payments have to be made. You need to prepare a schedule of those so they've got a clear understanding. Because when you read the article on MYOB, the CEO indicated that problems occurred after about 6 months of a business starting, because those who had assumed that they would be receiving 30-day credit from their suppliers had to pay cash up front. So they didn't have that luxury of that 30-day buffer before they had to make payments. And some of those same businesses had also assumed that their debtors would pay them in 30 days. And they would have got a rude shock. And I don't know what their debtors' days outstanding were, but I think it would be greater than 30 days. And they started having problems with some very important people, and that is the tax office, who were looking for where was the tax and superannuation payments. So they had some problems. So this is part of the issues that can arise with someone buying a business. I think it's important, as the article says, that you should be saying to your client, you need a business plan. We are going to sit down with you and we're going to work a business plan, and we're going to explore these various matters and a lot of others, and you have a document. And then we are going to sit with you and prepare predictive accounting reports, budgets, cash flow forecasts, the key indicators, those key sub-accounts of inventory, both raw material, if they've got raw materials, stock, debtors, creditors, so that the all-important debtors' days outstanding, creditors' days outstanding figures can be determined. And if your client's going to undertake research and development as part of this new business venture, that's a very important key indicator also. And then you'd have the projected cash flow forecast for the next 3 years. So you look at it and talk to your client, make sure they understand that if things blow out in inventory or more importantly in debtors collections, instead of being in 40 days, they're taking 60 days, it's going to put pressure on their cash flow. And perhaps they haven't got enough money, and be honest with them up front. And I think you should also be saying you want to introduce them to the concept of 52-week business enhancement system, whereby they are in a system of daily, weekly, monthly, daily analysis of key indicators for that day, but all important on a weekly basis, the weekly profitability and performance reports. Very, very important. And someone said to me the other day, well, what happens, Pete, if the client says, no, they don't want that? I'd be saying, good luck in your business venture, and end the meeting. I don't think you should be taking them on as a client, because they're going to end up in problems. You're going to be dragged into extra work, and you probably won't get paid for it. But that's up to you. But I wouldn't be handling them. I think we need to give some tough love to some of these people. Perhaps they need to stay in their employment, wherever they're working at present, for another 12 to 24 months to accumulate a bit more money to go into business. Perhaps they need to read some of the articles which we've got in ESS BIZTOOLS that you can obviously supply to them, so they have a better appreciation of the real facts of life of running a business. The next article in this April edition of Business Plus was, are you planning to sell your business? I had clients over the years that have basically rang me one morning and said, Peter, we'd like to sell our business. I said, oh, that's good. What do you, how much money are you going to ask for? And they wrap up a figure, and I think, geez, that's high. And what are you doing? Oh, we're just going to see the real estate agent to list it now. I said, well, there are specialist brokers, and I think it will take a bit more planning than you just waking up this morning and decide you're going to sell your business. So there's a whole product package on selling a business within ESS BIZTOOLS that you can utilize to guide your clients through this process. And I really like analyzing the value the client thinks their business might be worth. I've had people say to me, it's worth $1 million, Peter. How is it? And I quickly analyze the last 3 years' financial performance and do some calculations and say, no, I think it's only worth $430,000. That's all you're going to get for it. If you don't agree, go and talk to a business broker. Here's a couple of names. I think they'll come up with the same figure. And they're very close. But you can then say to your client, there's a lot of things that need some changing in this business. We have talked about them, haven't we? So how about we try to implement them and put a timetable in that your actual sale of your business, 2 or 3 years' time. Let's get it tidied up. Might be a coat of paint's got to be put on some things. Perhaps some of the team members have got to be up-trained a bit more, so we can be saying to the potential purchaser, you've got a team that have agreed they're going to remain and they're well-trained. They can run the business. Needs to be some planning. So we've got a complete product package looking at, and we talk about a whole aspect of that in this edition of Business Plus. Then we comment on a sole trader. Who's a sole trader? What's the basis for that? There's still plenty of people run businesses as sole traders. So we talk about getting the ABN and everything else. So what I'm showing to you is within this edition of Business Plus, we've got a variety of articles trying to be of interest to a range of people. Then we look at the lifetime value of a customer. I think a lot of people underestimate, someone just comes in a couple of times a week and spends $40 or $50 a time. Project that through over a 7 to 8 year period. It's a lot of money. So what do you need to do to get them to spend all of their requirements with you that in the supply packages that you've got in your business? We then looked at director's role in a small, medium-sized business. We all work under the Corporations Act and the Tax Act, and they're no different between the requirements that BHP work under and what a small business that, because he wants to or she wants to claim some research and development benefits, has decided that they need to be a company, because you've got to be a company to get the research and development benefits. But they know nothing about the legal obligations they've again got as a company director. Now, they can go off and undertake the company director's course. That's a week course in one of the capital cities, and it costs a fair bit of money. Or you can utilise the material we've introduced into ESS BIZTOOLS that I've written based on my experience as a company director and a company secretary of a listed public company, and as a fellow of the Institute of Company Directors. I did the course, but I've written a small business version of it. Now, if you've got a client that wants to ultimately be a director of a public company or a major sporting organisation, sure, I think they should do the company director's course. But just to get people started so they've got a greater appreciation of what the legal requirements are, you will have the resources to be able to mentor and coach your client in an understanding of the company director's duties. We had part one of the director's discussion in this edition. We also had part one of corporate governance and risks. Every business has got corporate governance issues, but they are significantly higher if your client is operating as a company, because the Corporations Act applies. But there's a whole range of things relative to quality assurance, occupational health and safety issues, compliance with all sorts of legislation, income tax, workplace health and safety, money laundering, work cover, privacy legislation, fair trading, environmental legislation. So hopefully that gives you an overview of why we're so enthusiastic about the preparation each month of Business Plus. We send it to our clients. It's uploaded on the second Friday of a month to our website. If you're a subscriber, you download it, you badge it with your firm name, and you can send it out to your client. You can edit if you wish. If you want to add some additional material, you can do so. And some of our subscribers in country areas, because there's always other things. The DPI is coming to town, or there's some particular livestock demonstration featured in the next week. You can add material to those for those types of things. It's your document. It's going out to the clients. It's coming from you. I hope that helps you. And as always, if you would like to obtain further information from me as to the role that ESS BIZTOOLS can play in assisting accountants and bookkeepers to really implement financial, commercial, management accounting advisory services to your SME clients to assist them to improve their business operations, please contact us. Send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or give me a phone call, 0418 190 181. Have a great day. Goodbye.